Good evening, everyone. You're listening to another episode of the Tall and Short of It podcast. I'm your host, Justin.
And I am Aaron. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We've got a packed show for you tonight. We've got our Belgian Grand Prix at Spa race preview coming up, along with lots of League of Legends from the weekend, four different series that we had going on, the best of fives. And then we'll have a little sprinkling of some Magic the Gathering at the end of the show. Justin, how are you doing?
I'm doing pretty well, man. That sounds like an action-packed show here. I know we're gonna get into the nitty-gritty of a bunch of playoff matches, but let's spend a little time. Talk to me. How's your week? Give me your rose thorn seed, man.
Week's been pretty good, honestly. So my rose for that is, so it was kind of a new mindset, I guess, that is my rose. I at the end of last week was pretty stressed out from work. Like the week had not gone super well. I was just not in a good mood. I went out with Colleen and some friends Friday night, and I was like kind of faking it till I make it with my attitude. Like I was just not feeling good from just the way that the week went at work. Um, and I kind of like during the weekend with talking to Colleen and all realized that I was um, really not like, or I was letting things affect me a bit too much, and it was kind of negatively affecting me elsewhere with like my relationships outside of work and all, and not that it was anything bad, but I uh, realize that my moods from how work and how like that part of my life is going can like go out and affect me in other areas. It did when I was working in the hotels. I was pretty grumpy a lot towards the end of my time and everything, and so I don't really want to be that. I don't like being like that. So I was kind of just turned on a new perspective of just, hey, I can just do the best that I can do. I'm going to keep trying my hardest at work. Things aren't always going to go smoothly, but if I'm doing the best I can, then at the end of the day, like, what else can anyone ask of me kind of thing. And
Mm-hmm.
to just not let that get in my head and affect me like it kind of had started to. So I'm glad that I had the awareness to notice it. And like this whole week so far, there's been some tough situations and whatnot at work, but I've been able to kind of keep that perspective going, and I think just I guess my rose mainly is just being like conscious of my emotions, of my like just my how I'm feeling and everything, and kind of taking control of that instead of letting it bother me and whatnot. So uh, it's been pretty good so far. So
Okay. So it's more of a so it's more of a not letting work affect the life that the good life that you want to lead outside of work. You don't want it to bleed in to make it just all a drag.
yeah, and so I mean, even with that, that also means like not letting things get to me as much at like when I'm at work. I think I sometimes get a little bit too caught up in everything and let it stress me out. So kind of just not even allowing it to get to that point, so that it
Okay.
doesn't even have an opportunity to start bleeding over and everything. So
Okay, cool. So we're putting boundaries up, putting some good walls up.
yeah, definitely, and just
Okay.
yeah, trying to keep a good perspective. So that's my rose for this week,
That's a
especially
great
since
rose. I'd love to hear it.
yeah, especially since I've been able to do it pretty well and everything. My thorn was actually kind of related to something I had mentioned a couple weeks back, which was how a like dead body had floated up on our riverbank at work, which was kind of nutty. But the thorn was on Monday. one of the girls in the office realized that someone had posted a negative review for us on like Google for the property I was at. And it has absolutely nothing to do with us other than the fact of like the location. Like some asshole posted a 1-star review of the property basically saying, I helped the police like get this body out of the river, and they wouldn't tell me any information about it, and they wouldn't let me know like who it was or any of this stuff. And they're like, we spent like an hour whatever helping them out, and like we just want to pay our respects and like give the family some closure or whatever. And then they posted 2 pictures that they had taken of the dead body floating in the river. Like, and this is just like, has literally nothing to do with us at all other than the location. And so that's like sitting on our Google reviews right now. And Google doesn't have a way, like we've reported it, or the like our marketing person who's the like owner of the like the Google thing for us like reported it, and it's still up there. Like Google's review system, like we marked it as explicit images, as like offensive, all this stuff. And it was just still, as of like yesterday, it was still up there sitting there. And I'm like, one, if you say, oh, I wanted to pay my respects and I want to like give the family some closure, don't post a fucking picture of someone's like family member floating dead in the river on the internet for other people to see. 2, I think that's probably illegal if there's an ongoing police investigation, because that's just absolutely ridiculous. And 3, like don't post it on the page of the property that literally has nothing to do with it. Like, it's just super messed up, and I'm like just really annoyed also primarily at the fact that Google's review system doesn't clearly like work. Like if something's reported on a review as being so I think the category says like offensive or sexually explicit or something like that. If something is fucking flagged by anyone as that and reported, then it should automatically come down until someone has the opportunity to review it and like see if it should go back up or not. Like, don't just let it sit there like waiting and chilling. Like that should be a automated system that if something like, God forbid it's something much worse, something sexually explicit, something with a minor, who knows? And Google's review system is like, nope, we'll just leave it up there until like someone will eventually get to it. Like,
and that would actively lose you business.
Well, it could actively lose us business. It could just be like a horrible situation depending on what's posted. Like that could be just extreme, like whether it's for our property, like that. There's no reason that anything like that should be left up indefinitely until someone gets around to reviewing it.
Agreed. Like, yeah, that's stupid.
Yeah, so that was my thorn. It's really, really frustrating. I can probably, like, I'm going to see if it's still up, because if it is, like, that's just absolutely insane. But...
yeah, and that's tough, and that means that the Google business side favors the like prospective clients and just like random people more than it like wants to give agency to the business to like manage their own page. It's like, oh no, if you got this review, you know, see, blah blah blah.
Yeah, so it is down now, but it was up yesterday, like midday. So it had been posted on Sunday. So for Sunday, Monday, and at least most of Tuesday, if not all of Tuesday and part of today, this review was just chilling there on the internet. Like, just insane. So that was my thorn, because I was just pretty worked up about it. I just think it's really disrespectful to the family and all, too. Like, it's just not right.
Yeah, that's really fucked up.
So that was my thorn.
It's a big thorn.
Yeah. And my seed is I have kind of found out my next assignment for work. I've got a finite end date for being out at this property. So September 10th is my last day out there. And I will be moving over back to property a bit closer, but the property manager is leaving, so they're having me fill in temporarily, at least, while they figure out who the next person will be. So, yeah, so it's I think I will be fine at it. I'm not like nervous or anything, but I am like I wouldn't say I'm excited either. I think I am well equipped to handle it, but I just don't feel super like pumped.
Right.
But I'm sure it'll be fine, go well, and everything. So that's my seed. I'm looking out towards that, and I think it's going to be it's a new opportunity, something else to kind of get under my belt and all, and yeah, just another thing to just try and do my best with and do what I can do to keep things afloat. So
Right. Now, is there an element to where moving from this assignment, like you enjoy, if I remember correctly, you enjoy the people there at this property, working with them, so that's kind of rough, right?
yeah, it's just the tough part of this job is that this role is that once things get going good and get going smoothly wherever I'm at, that's about when they're like, okay, here, off to the next thing that's having difficulty, so you can help them out and support them, which is like, I know it's appreciated, but it's tough to constantly be like just jumping around and all, and I never get to fully see like the fruits of my labor, kind of like I get to know that things are in a good spot when I'm leaving, but then I'm just like on to focusing on the next thing, so I don't really ever get to see everything kind of come to fruition. So
Yeah, you're only ever like working towards improvement. You don't get to exist in the final product there for any amount of time.
right, exactly.
Right.
So it'll be all right. It's one of those things that comes with the position, but it does remind me that I do want to start like getting a better idea of what I'd like to do more long term. That's going to be a more like, I like the variety of my day to day, but just the industry in general is going to give me that. I think I'd like to have just a little more stability in terms of like where I'm at and all. So
Gotcha. Yeah, that makes sense to me.
yeah, so it's
Okay.
I'm kind of getting myself a little mentally prepared for that, but not really like not excited, not unhappy about it, just like, okay, this is the new thing that's going to be going on, and so just kind of taking it as what it is. So
Okay. Awesome.
yeah. So for your week, your rose, thorn, and seed. Also, I like the haircut. It's been a
Thank
while
you.
since I've seen you with the short hair.
Yeah, it was getting too much to manage, my man. It was like in my face, and like I was keeping it tied up a lot because of like not wanting it in my face. It was just too much. I was spending too much time thinking about it, so I got rid of it.
Just time to go, and now it's time to grow it out again.
Time to go and starting the next batch. Yeah, that's right. But yeah, rose thorn seed for me this week. So my rose and my seed kind of go hand in hand. So first, my roses, I would just like to give a big shout out to one of my clients, Carly, who over the course of being my client has become a pretty good friend and a pretty good help in my practice overall. So my rose is her being a helpful friend that ties into my seed. Big announcement. So the Tall and Short of It podcast is going to be expanding We're going to add another show to the roster. The working title right now is Push and Pull, a medical massage podcast that will be under the Tall and Short of It production company umbrella. We're working on some like branding stuff. We're working on making the Tall and Short of It brand like I don't know.
We're branching out a little bit.
Branching out. That's probably a good way to say it. So this is going to be a little bit of a solo venture. My commentaries on my practice, my clients, my thoughts, my feelings, education. So my seed is we have hopefully in the next like 2 weeks, if my timeline works out, we'll have the pilot episode recorded and shot, and also the second episode recorded and shot with a guest. And that's why Carly was my rose, because I got her to be my first guest on the podcast to talk about just massage, health, life, how we met, just things we've learned together, and just kind of about those topics in general, and then from there we'll see where it goes. But expect that episode weekly if you're wanting to get to know a little bit more about massage and what it can do. So that's my rose and my seed,
and that'll be on the YouTube channel as well, correct? Or are you planning to? Yes, that's what I was thinking. So that'll be on our Tall and Short of It YouTube channel as well. It'll be under its own video playlist. We're working on organizing things into the different categories, be it the weekly Tall and Short of It podcast, F1 race companions and whatnot, and then the Push and Pull medical massage podcast as well.
Working title, but I imagine that's what it's going to be. I did some Googling today. It doesn't seem like there's a whole lot in that vein. I didn't see anything by that name, so I'm probably going to run with that. So yeah, look for that if you want to support this podcast, if you want to support us, if you want to learn about massage in general. That's coming up. So that's a big seed for me, for the Tall and Short of It. I'm just really excited.
Yeah.
My thorn, and I'm going to get a little fucking animated here. My thorn, as you can see, is I'm sitting on this thing. So usually I had a big back, I could swivel, but like, I was dipped down. I probably often look pretty uncomfortable, right? So my thorn is I'm not comfortable, bro. I need somewhere to fucking sit. So I've been saving up money, and I probably will be for a little bit, but I'm saving up money to go deep on one of the like Secret Lab or a DX Racer.
Yeah.
Dude, or something just fucking comfortable that comes up. I can get my battle mode engaged, be able to click heads. I literally have a towel here. It's like a cushion. I'm jerry rigging my seats, and it's a big thorn in my side.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if anyone has ever seen what I sit on, but it's not any better than that. I sit on a good old school office chair.
Damn.
With some hey, it's got a padded seat and a padded back, which is better than I can say for the old chair I used when I was gaming with you when I lived in Virginia, which was a metal folding chair that had a very light. It did have light padding on the back and on the cushion, but this one is much better. I can sit on it for extended times without being in pain. So
nice. Yeah, back pain and butt pain is no fun, especially when when it's your place of doing things, when you're operating, when you're trying to click heads. So yeah, if you want to support the podcast, if you want to support Justin and Aaron, if you want to support the Tall and Short of It, buy some chairs. Hit that subscribe, hit that like. It'll buy us these chairs. So
one day.
One day, man. Yeah. So that's the rose, thorn, and seed. This is how we get into the Tall and Short of It. Let's talk about some Formula One, baby. I'm excited.
Yeah, no, it's going to be really, really exciting getting back into it. I know you said you're listening to the F1 podcast that is on the Formula One channel or Formula1.com website and everything that they do. And it's going to be really interesting seeing how things start to shake out for the kind of start of the second half of the season and all. I mean, the last couple races we had Max getting crashed out by Lewis, followed by getting in quite a predicament at the start of the most recent race, getting bumped into, losing side panels, all of that unfortunate stuff that happened to Max. So kind of seeing how things shake out in the second half of the season. Lots of racing to go. He's still definitely within reach of the Drivers' Championship. And to remind everyone, he is only 8 points back from Lewis. So, I mean, easily within reach.
Who got bumped up to second position after the Seb Vettel fuel investigation. So he's further ahead than he might have should have been.
So
blah, blah, blah,
could have
blah.
been, would have been like, I don't know, 5 spots or something like that, or 5 points, but now it's 8, or
right.
I'd have to, can't quite
Small
remember.
Margins is what we're getting at.
Yeah, definitely. So, Lewis gained 3 points, so he would have only been 5 points up. Now he is 8 points up in the drivers. And for the constructors, Mercedes is up 12 points on Red Bull currently. So everything still very up in the air going into this Belgian Grand Prix at Spa.
So, couple interesting things about the Spa Grand Prix that I learned about this weekend. Number one, I will no longer be calling it La Rouge or A Rouge or Il Rouge or Bing Rouge, whatever mispronunciations I was wont to do. I heard today the pronunciation of it, and I think it's going to stick in my brain. They're pronouncing it Eau Rouge, that little dippy uphill section that goes into the long straight. Eau Rouge. I got it now. I hear you. Okay. That's interesting point number one. Interesting point number two. Belgium has only been missed 3 years since its inception way back in the day. It's only been not on the calendar 3 times. I thought that was super interesting. So, why do I find that interesting? As somebody who was a fan of, like, I'll say, like, GT racing, like, I liked cars on tracks racing against each other. More in the form of, like, video games. I liked the bodywork. I liked going fast, right? So I had these ideas of, like, liking cars and racing, right? One of the cooler tracks that we talk about, we always struggled on, was Spa. So I was coming at it from just like a spectator gaming, whatever. It's just like it was a fun track. Little did we know, it's one of the more storied tracks in F1, right? It's got a lot going on. So it's only not been there 3 years. I think that's pretty fascinating for a sport as old as F1. That's been there pretty much every time. So I think that's fascinating.
Definitely. Well, and the other part I'm guessing you're about to get into, were you going to get into Michael Schumacher?
Of course.
Okay, I'll let you get to it.
Of course. So 91 and 92, very important years for Mr. Michael Schumacher. So and you guys can hear the story firsthand if you'd like. I'll do the summarizing here. But I was floored. I was enamored hearing it for the first time today. So Eddie Jordan, I guess, was a manager of some kind of I believe it was like Jordan Ford or like Jordan some.
I believe it was it's Jordan Grand Prix was the name of the team.
Was the name of the team? Okay, I'm just not sure what engine they were using.
So Jordan Grand Prix in 19. So they were from 91 to 2005. So they were a constructor. Yes, they were powered by Ford engines.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. So Jordan Ford had a predicament going into the 91 season. They needed a driver, I believe, and there were a couple of drivers that were up for it. And through whatever conversations were had, it was decided to be Michael Schumacher. Okay. So they get to the track on Friday in Belgium, and their trailer or their truck or whatever that has the cars in them gets impounded by like some tariff bailiffs, some like tax people, some like you got to pay the troll toll, whatever they wanted. They literally impound the Jordan Ford F1 vehicles during what would have been free practice 1 and free practice 2 on a Friday, right?
Mm.
So Michael Schumacher is not in the car for FP1 and FP2. Eddie Jordan, during all this, I'm sure it's just a debacle in the paddock of like, do we have, like, can we get data? Like, is there anything we can do? Like, what are we going to do? Like, what's the weather going to be like? How are we going to blah, 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 blah. I'm sure the paddock was just going a buzz. And Eddie Jordan goes to Michael Schumacher and is like, hey, have you ever been to Spa before? In the way that a team director would be talking to a driver saying, hey, have you ever raced this fucking track before? Have you ever driven here? Is the way that you would be asking, hey, have you ever been here, to a driver? You don't care if they've had a soda in the stands. You want to know if they've been around the track, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Eddie Jordan asked this of Michael Schumacher, and Michael Schumacher says yes. He never raced that fucking track before, but he had been there, so the correct answer was yes. Okay, so no FP1, no FP2, goes to qualifying that Saturday, qualifies P7.
Mm-hmm.
Eddie Jordan is like, this guy's insane. This guy's insane. Fast forward to Sunday on a race day. All right, my man, he doesn't finish. There's like a big pileup. I'm pretty sure there's like, I think there's like 12 cars that DNF.
Yeah, he went out in lap 1.
Yeah, it was brutal. But the qualifying performance was enough to solidify in this guy's mind, Eddie Jordan, that he's like, all right, this guy, he's obviously got something going on here.
Yeah, and so the other thing that comes into play, and this is just from me glancing over the Wikipedia for him, but a man named Bertrand Gachot, or I butchered his name probably, Gachot, was actually got into a road rage incident as well.
Went to fucking jail.
He went to jail for attacking a taxi driver, which is what opened up the spot for Eddie Jordan to be like, hey,
yep.
Anyone driven here before? And Michael Schumacher's like, I've been there. Mm-hmm. So yeah, their driver got put in jail for attacking a taxi driver, where then Michael Schumacher came in and raced for them. So,
like, amazing like turn of luck for Michael, but then to show up on the day, right? Amazing. Fast forward 1 year later, same track, 1992, the year I was born, Michael Schumacher wins his first Formula One race at Spa and kicks off the whole legacy. That's where he gets his first W.
Yeah, that's a pretty amazing kind of. I mean, even at the time, that was very full circle. Let alone watching him continue on in his career, but for it to be like, hey, like, kid, you want to drive a car? And he's like, sure. Does well in qualies, and then doesn't even make it through a full like lap of the race. To then the next year go back and win his first race ever. That's pretty phenomenal. So
Oh, dude, I definitely agree. So yeah, when I heard that, I had to tell the story today here on the pod
no,
because
that's a great story.
it gave me much more of an appreciation for who Michael was as a driver, and I think little stories like that can show you so much about what a person's like willing to say or do to just like get that chance, get the opportunity to put themselves in a position to at least like touch at their dream or at least get an opportunity, right? So yeah, say what you want, Michael Schumacher lied to him, but I
Yeah.
think that's hilarious.
Hey, there's a really funny sports video of this LSU pitcher. He hit a walk-off home run in like I think it was the college baseball World Series or something like that. And in the post game interview, they're like asking him. They're like, "Oh, like on the field after he hit the home run and everything, because he was pinch hitting. He got brought in just to bat there." And they're
Gotcha.
like, "Oh, when's the last time you batted?" He's like, "Oh, I batted in high school and whatever." And then in the post game presser with like his teammates and the coach like sitting there talking to the media up on the stage, they're like, "Yeah, so like when did you bat last? Like you haven't batted at all in college." And he's like, "Coach, I'm sorry." He's like, "I didn't bat in high school at all." He's like, "I hit batting practice and I hit bombs, but yeah, my coach wouldn't let me bat in high school." So like, who knows when the last time this guy batted in a real game? But he hit a walk-off home run to win the game,
Damn.
and it was like it's one of the funniest little like clips of these like interviews, and the coach is like, "Hey, like I'm glad I let you," kind of thing.
Right.
Like
That's so funny. Like, yeah, we want to hear that like the culmination of like a lifetime of practice was
Yeah.
like that home run, but in reality it was just like, I just got lucky. I just nailed it.
Yeah, and like I mean, but that's sometimes one of those things. It's like they see the opportunity and seize it, and have turned it around to be these big events in I mean different ways, different levels and scales of big depending on who you're talking to, but pretty cool nonetheless. So that's awesome that I didn't realize actually. I knew that Michael Schumacher had won at Belgium, but at Spa, but I didn't know that was his first win. I didn't realize that. So
Yeah, I thought that was pretty sweet. One of the more story tracks, one of the more story drivers, like, that'd be like that's like Lewis Hamilton pulling it home at Silverstone every time. It's just like a classic.
yeah.
It's like a 30 for 30, you know?
Well, and another cool thing that I found kind of just looking on the F1 website, there's actually a documentary that Netflix is putting out called Schumacher. Comes out September 15th about his career in F1 and everything coming up from karting into F1 and everything for his 7 world championships and 91 victories. So, very, very cool.
It's a shame that Lewis Hamilton came up so quick behind him, man. He could have been like the GOAT, like, for an extended amount of time. Even if somebody only ever got 6 championships,
I think
Michael would be the GOAT.
Yeah, I think also though you can look at it as almost a Michael Jordan to LeBron kind of scenario. Like it's
Different eras, different cars. Can't
different.
really compare 'em.
Yeah, it's tough to compare with the different types of competition. That like it's just
Bro, I'm just talking about the caking. I'm just talking about the caking from the franchising. Michael Schumacher hoodies, Michael Schumacher shoes, Michael Schumacher pants. That's all.
Oh yeah,
With Lewis Hamilton out there, nobody gives a fuck, man.
If drop shipping and custom shirts were a thing back when Michael Schumacher, if it wasn't people just buying T-shirts at the store and using puffy paint to write things on them, then
I'm gonna change my name to Alibaba. I'll tell you that.
Well, just on a side note, my friends and I are doing, I think I may have mentioned it here on the pod, but we're doing a beer Olympics Labor Day weekend for my roommate's birthday and all. And we had to pick a sports team to be for each team and everything. So Colleen and I picked ours. It's an obscure team with a funny name. I'm going to leave it to be a surprise for... Actually, I'll say it because I don't think anyone would find it from my friends this deep into the F1 talk. Not sure, but we are the Rocket City Trash Pandas, who their mascot is a raccoon in a trash can. And the trash can looks like a rocket ship. And it's a minor league baseball team. So I couldn't find too much gear of theirs. So I bought like plain black headbands and iron-on like paper and printed out their logo onto the paper, which I'm going to iron on to these black headbands to have our own custom-made little headbands to wear for the beer Olympics.
That sounds so 90s. Like I haven't heard the phrase iron on in like 30 years.
I know. I had to order it from Amazon because I went to like some different places like Michael's Crafts and stuff like that and couldn't find what I needed. So I had to go.
You should have just stopped there. You should have stopped there.
It's gonna look phenomenal. I'm super pumped about it. It's been arts and crafts for the past. Like that's what I was doing before we hopped on here. I was using an X-Acto knife from the dollar store to cut out the logo on iron-on paper.
Dude, you're literally gonna look like the Halloween costume version of the Karate Kid.
No way. The logos look good.
The Trash Pandas. I hate that that's like a remotely funny joke. I mean,
the logo looks good.
That's pretty fire.
Yeah. So don't talk too much shit. I'm excited for it.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was a funny team name. The other option was the Savannah Bananas, another baseball team. So went with the Trash Pandas. A little bit better.
Yeah. Okay. I prefer the Trash Pandas.
Yeah. But that I'm excited about. But just talking about custom gear and drop shipping T-shirts and whatnot popped it into my mind.
Nice. Okay, cool. Well, yeah, that's a great idea, man. I'm happy that you're embracing the arts and crafts side of you, even though it's useless and unexciting. Just saying, it's fun.
Hey, if I'm having fun, then I guess I'm succeeding.
I guess for the beer Olympics, it's funny because you'll probably have gone farther than everybody. You're putting way more effort than everybody. You know that, right?
Oh, 100%. But
okay.
I paid like, I don't know, $15 for the stuff to make this between the headbands and the paper and everything.
What do you win for the beer Olympics?
I mean, nothing, but a good time.
So, worse, you're in the whole $15?
Yeah, exactly. Like, there are way worse things that I could have spent money on than some vinyl iron-on paper. So.
Okay. I like that attitude, man. I like your positivity.
Oh, absolutely. You got to. But yeah, so Michael Schumacher.
Yeah, I think that doc will be pretty cool. Overall, I'm interested in hearing about some of these drivers from the past. Gives us some context for what's going on here today. So yeah, Michael Schumacher, very fascinating character, great driver. I was just happy to learn about some of his beginnings today. To kind of give us some context moving forward for Spa coming up this weekend. Rest in peace to Hubert.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think just in terms of that documentary too, it'll be kind of interesting seeing Mick as a little kid, like being alongside at races and
Oh,
all.
I know. He'll be a little baby in like in things, and
Yeah.
he's out like fucking women now. That's weird.
You're not wrong. You are not wrong. But yeah, I think that'll be a pretty cool aspect of it. But yeah, seeing all the getting more knowledge of older drivers and whatnot is going to make it a little bit more cool, I think, for both of us to be able to see the differences over the years and kind of the changes in F1. So that'll be cool to check out.
And it would give us maybe a little bit of an understanding of like how unprecedented of times we are in currently, like especially going into the 2022 season where we see this F1 vehicle that looks very dissimilar to a lot of F1 vehicles from the past.
Oh,
So
absolutely.
and then we're having racers that are competing at a level of speed that is unprecedented for some of these tracks, some of these teams, some of these drivers. So we really are living in like groundbreaking times for this vehicle technology and what these drivers are capable of doing. So I think what's fascinating is it helps us understand like how far the sport has really come. Like it's so easy for us to come into a sport and like have all these radio messages and like break down this tire strategy and like, oh well the blah 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 really got blah blah and like, oh but what's the dag with the and you go back, you probably don't even have to go back 12 years and tire deg wasn't even a conversation. It was more about like G's in this turn and that turn, and like I just appreciate so much a sport that has gone through so many iterations of changes but like still produces these like gargantuan figures and people who didn't fold to those machinations of grandeur. That's not like the right term, but what I'm saying is like these constructions of history, right? Like you're competing against every driver that these motherfuckers have ever remembered, right? Like, oh, do you remember that? Do you remember the '76 Spa where blah 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 went like you're competing with that kind of mentality every race where like well, oh, the last Austrian Grand Prix was the best Austrian Grand Prix. Nothing that happens this year is gonna, right? It's such this like storied thing that I love being presented with stories that are so dissimilar to what's going on in the sport today, but you're able to learn something about the thing as a whole, even
Well, and you learn a
even though the
lot
data
about
point is far away.
yeah, you learn a lot about like what you can look kind of at these historical races and things like that and what's going on in them and actually learn something about like the time period and culture from that as well. It's a twofold kind of thing with that because you have the ability to get a deeper understanding based on like the goings on. I mean, you look back at say hockey, for instance. This was probably 15 to I don't know 20 years ago. There was a game where the Philadelphia Flyers were playing the Toronto Maple Leafs in a hockey game in Philadelphia. Ty Domi, who I think is a big goon from back in the day, got put in the penalty box. People were yelling at him from the stands, and he ended up like half climbing across the boards, and like him and a fan kind of going at it. Like the fan, I think, threw a beer on him to start it, and like so like. Just the difference in how things are in terms of time, like no one would ever get away with anything like that nowadays.
Oh, legit be arrested.
There was a fan that got like banned from a Philadelphia 76ers game or something like that because he was like flipping off a player and screaming fuck you," because the guy made a free throw, because if you miss 2 free throws in the second half against the Sixers at their stadium, everyone in the attendance like can take their ticket to a Wendy's and get a free Frosty. Like, so like this guy was just pissed off that he didn't get a free Wendy's Frosty. Was screaming at the guy. Like, there's all sorts of, yeah, there's all like, and these like people, it was a hockey player, full pads and everything, fighting a guy in the stands. Like, it was,
that's epic.
But
That's
just
epic.
like a different time, and you can kind of see like
Yeah.
the changes in just like the culture around the sport and things like that.
Evolution.
From the differences that you see. So it is definitely cool to look at some of these historical races. Back thinking like this 30 years ago to Michael Schumacher's debut at Spa in 1991. Up until now, just huge differences, and into 2022, those cars look wild. So the changes in the cars and everything over the years as well.
Dude,
so
they look fucking wicked, bro.
they look like spaceships.
They look wicked. They really do.
They look so fast.
Yeah.
So fast.
But yeah, so that's what we're looking forward to this weekend leading up to Spa. Just really excited to get back in the car. Really excited to be back in race weekend form.
Planning to have a race companion on Sunday, so keep your eyes out for that. We're looking to do that for the Grand Prix and everything, so very excited.
Yes, sir. That is Sunday afternoon, Belgium Grand Prix. That's when the race goes live. Obviously, they have FP1, FP2 on Friday, qualies on Saturday. It's all happening this weekend in Belgium for the Grand Prix.
Yep.
Now,
9
Aaron,
a.m. Eastern time, start time for the race on Sunday.
Gotcha. Okay, bright and early, but that's not uncommon. Okay, cool, nice. That's a lot to be excited for. Now let's talk about something a little more in the rear view. Let's talk about this weekend, some of the playoff implications from the NALCS.
Yeah, absolutely. So first off, we had the Thursday series that while was going on while we were recording last week's episode. Cloud9 came out and put on a really solid performance against EG, 3-0'd them. Anything, I guess, any big comments or anything that really stood out to you from that series, other than, of course, the fact that it was a 3-0. Cloud9 looked to be in just really good form in general, it seemed like.
So the big thing that caught my eye from the series, obviously we were recording the podcast last week when the matches were going on. We didn't get to watch them live. When I was going back and watching the matches, the thing that I noticed was that Cloud9 played a very different pick and ban strategy than they had played the other playoff rounds. There were big focuses on Viego and Rise for Cloud9's games against all of the other squads. Now, in this series, there was a tendency to ignore the Rise, even banning it themselves, and playing for the LeBlanc in 2 games, and then looking to get the Orianna in the first game, which obviously Orianna is a mage that any mid laner can pick up, any mid laner can play. But what I thought was most fascinating about that series for Cloud9 specifically was the dropping of the priority for Rise and the increase of the priority for LeBlanc, because for the other series that we had seen in the last 2 weeks, LeBlanc was very high priority on the ban side, so it was interesting that Cloud9 was able to come up with a strategy where they basically, like, it felt like a double fake where they played like a fuck ton of Rise through a bunch of these games, and then EG was like, oh, they're just gonna look for X, Y, and Z, and then they just like pulled the rug out from under them and was like, oh no, you should have been banning the LeBlanc, right? It just
Yeah.
it was a series that felt like such just like a master stroke in the course of, like, if you looked at the playoffs from the perspective of Cloud9, like as a storyline, right? That's like the sense that I got from that series, where most of them were wrapped up in the pick and ban. Like EG seems so confused in the pick and ban because the drafts were, I would say, quite different from what they were doing in the other series.
Yeah, definitely. And the other thing that I thought was of note was that Evil Geniuses was able to get the Thresh during game one, and then it was banned out by them both of the next two games. It was first banned, which was kind of odd. But you saw like Ignar did not have a phenomenal performance on it in game one, and I think they then realized, hey, like if we're not going to be able to do much with this pick, then fuck it, like let's just not let Vulcan have it, and we'll go from there. I did also think it was interesting to continue to see Cloud9 ban out the Ziggs. They banned it in 2 games of that series, and I think that it's just pretty interesting that they just have absolutely no interest in like picking that champion at all or playing against it. They just are like, nope, we're good. Keep it out of my sight and move on. So I think that may still be a small weakness of theirs, but interesting nonetheless, because I have a strong feeling that Ziggs is going to be a pretty prevalent pick during the World Championships as an alternative to some of these. I mean, you're primarily seeing if it's not Callista down in the bot lane, you're primarily seeing Varus, Aphelios, Ashe, Ezreal, these longer range, pokey, AD carry champions or bot lane champions, the Jhin. So I have a strong feeling that will be one of only a few alternatives to some of those longer range bot laners as an AP style. I don't think we'll see too much in terms of other mages in the bot lane like we have previously, like Cassiopeia, Syndra, things like that. I think those are a bit less likely with
I don't
the
think
way
we're
the meta
there.
is. So,
and then also with the Ziggs, you have to look at, so they don't want to pick it themselves, right? Meaning they don't want to opt into, so if you put Ziggs in the bottom lane, that means you're likely going physical carry mid lane with like a possible physical carry top lane AP jungler, or physical jungler AP top lane, right? Like you don't want to tech too far into one damage side.
yeah.
So
And
it
I don't
feels
think
like,
there's too many great AP junglers right now, and the top laners
yes,
are.
that's what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
That's what I was gonna say.
Top laners are leaning more towards that AD as well. You've got the Set, the Gangplank, the Jace, a lot of these kind of
they're all AD.
Renekton. You've got
And
Gnar.
Gwen, like, she's on the fringes now that Viego got nerfed.
Yeah.
She's not as high priority. I like that feels kind of shitty to say in the Cloud9 conversation, because I'm pretty sure they picked Gwen. That was late. That was
later on, but yeah.
not during that series. But yeah, so there are limited options for the team composition if you're picking Ziggs in the bottom lane. And honestly, the only time I think you're supposed to be picking Ziggs in the bottom lane is if the top side of your map like matches up with that, and if Tristana's unavailable.
Yeah. Oh,
right?
I forgot about Tristana, but yeah. Yep.
I think it's like he's like the AP version of Tristana as far as like the turret pushing. I think that's like the goal of drafting that.
Primarily, yeah, ranged, not super like pretty safe. Big team fights. The ult can be extremely game changing from the Ziggs. So yeah,
To your point though, looping all the way back, it was clear that Cloud9 just didn't want to fuck with it. Whatever the reasons are, we're just kind of theory crafting, right? But whatever the reasons are, Cloud9 did not want to fuck with it, and you're right, it was a very notable ban throughout the series.
Yeah.
Even going through what's that, game 3, they banned it in the like second section of bans. So like it was obviously ever present in their mind throughout the whole series.
Definitely. And the other one that was pretty interesting was they banned away Renekton every game against Impact on their first ban.
Smart move.
I mean, Impact's Renekton is very good, and they decided to take that away. So yeah, Cloud9 moved on 3-0. Perks looked phenomenal on the LeBlanc. He looked great on the Orianna. Just overall, they just kind of outclassed EG, and I don't think that says too much in terms of speaking negatively on EG. Cloud9 just looked in really good form, and that just, they have, I think, the better players overall, so they did what they kind of should have done in that matchup. So
Agreed. Last note that I want to make about the EG Cloud9 series, they did what Faker couldn't. They got counterpicked with the Morgana in game 2 against LeBlanc and won the game.
Yep.
I was impressed with that. I got big EDG versus SKT vibes, but obviously Perks is better than that. So.
And well, they were also kind of just winning all in every lane of the map, so it was not,
had little to do with that matchup.
Yeah, but but nonetheless, like Perks did not get down in the matchup, even having being against the counter pick. So
I just think it's fascinating that like this far out from that, like that's still the matchup. Yeah, that's still who you want. Like I think that's hilarious. But yeah, congratulations to Cloud9. Obviously, we're gonna be talking about them again tonight because their gauntlet. I would not put money on any other team in a gauntlet except for Cloud9.
That's
anybody
fair.
else, it's a toss-up. But, bro, it seems like that is where they are at home. It is so crazy.
I'm telling
They're
you.
winning way too much.
Papa Jack said, I bought your tickets. You got to pay him back if we don't make it. So,
crazy.
Like, nah, I'm keeping my salary.
So yeah, we'll be talking about Cloud9 here again. But moving on through the weekend's games, we've got Immortals versus TSM, which went 3-1 in the form of TSM. Aaron, what were your kind of like original impressions of the series? Any points you want to get into right off the bat?
Honestly, it was a closer series than I think it should have been.
Why?
Honestly, I just think...
was there like a big like crux of the game?
I don't know if there was a particular crux, because like in game 2, it was a pretty tight game, very bloody. I think that overall, though, the Rise was a pretty just important pick throughout the series. For those first couple games until it was, I believe, banned out in games 3 and 4. It looked like it was going to be pretty prevalent, and actually, no, not banned.
It wasn't.
That's
weird. They started banning they banned LeBlanc in the second phase of rotations. Twisted Fate, Syndra was being focused in the first rotations.
Yeah, I mean... I don't know if there was anything that really stood out in particular for me, other than I think Immortals like was playing pretty well in general in the playoffs. I mean, they came out and won 3-0 against Dignitas. I think they were kind of riding high a little bit on that. Came into the TSM series, and they just didn't really go down without a fight. The game 2 where we got to see Power of Evil, like with the Rise, Spica looking really good on the Lee Sin and all.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think the global ultimates, like the Twisted Fate to counter that a little bit, and everything, like the global ultimates were just kind of pretty heavy throughout the series. But yeah, game 3, Immortals got the early lead and just kind of stomped it a little bit. So
Yeah, the big question mark for me here, especially for the red side, is the Trundle picks. I cannot fathom picking a champion for one fucking ability. I I don't get it. There's literally 150. There are better characters than Trundle with his fucking pillar. Like,
well, and the other thing about that too is that the Trundle pick is like, I mean, the Trundle pick was picked by Immortals into a TSM team comp with the only tank being Leona. Then
who
TSM,
isn't buying supplementary tank stats,
right, and TSM,
which is where you get your value of the Trundle ultimate.
exactly, and then
Okay.
TSM picked the Trundle into a Immortals comp that the tankiest member was a Xinjiao.
Right.
Like,
So, I
you're
say again, I don't understand the pick.
I don't either, honestly. I think that it can be a decent counter to a number of champions, just in terms of the pillar. Like, the pillar can be pretty solid in terms of countering a number of different champions. However, none of them were in these games.
Yeah, Trundle just seems like just super useless. And especially, what was the game where they played Trundle support?
Yeah, that was game. What was that? Game 4? No, game
Was
2.
that TSM? Where they played Trundle support?
No, Immortals played Trundle support along with the Tristana.
Yeah, like I just don't know, man. Like I don't get the like having priority on a champion but not on the role that champion should be played.
I
Right,
mean,
like like we know we want Trundle, but our top laner doesn't play it, or like our jungler doesn't play it. That just seems like a waste of a pick. Like, just get something better.
honestly, I would take. I think Trundle support more than I would take him in like any other role currently. I think that he is not super strong unless you are putting. I'd say jungle and support are the only roles that Trundle should be played in right now. And
Okay, so
as a jungler, like only into really heavy tank matchups, like if you're against a volley bear or something like that, or like tank Gragas or something like that. Because the pillar can allow you to really like mess with those kinds of picks as well. As a support, like I don't really get it either. So game 2 when they picked it as support, okay, Braum was banned because I was gonna say Braum would be a much better option. I don't know why you don't go for like if you're looking for a tanky melee support that's going to like affect things, pick Nautilus. Like,
yeah, yes, that's so much more crowd control than the fucking pillar.
yeah, like I don't really understand that pick.
If you're playing Yasuo, sure, it counts as a knockup. It counts as a displacement. Like, I'm with it.
Yeah.
Not here, bro. Not here. I just think that's a waste. And then, dude, TSM is literally banning like triple 80 carries against fucking what is it, Reyes? Like, how is a team still in NALCS where their 80 carry is drawing Draven bans and like they're still like losing games?
That was something that stood out to me as well. Like the Draven ban was just weird.
What?
Like and triple 80 carry bans, like I guess like quadruple if you or there are 480 carries banned in total if you look at the Varus that was banned in round
5
1.
plus Lucian.
Oh yeah, Lucian I don't really consider as much of an AD carry anymore.
Nah, he's just an AD mid laner.
Yeah, but I don't know. There's better options. There's Rel. There's Nautilus. Like there are different.
Those are top 2. Rakan.
Yeah, like
Rakan's so fucking good.
But if you're
him?
looking for a tankier like
Sure.
Melee support with some solid engage and everything, Nautilus and Rel a million times over going for the Trundle support. I don't know, like, because you're not even at that point when you're picking it as support, you're not even looking to like flex that around. Like, you are picking that as a support, and your other, like, they've last picked it. So you're looking at, oh, where's it going to go? It's not going top lane when you have Jace. It's not going mid lane when you have TF. And it's not going jungle when you have Xin Zhao. So, like, it's in the bot lane. Like, like, that is not a... You picked it last pick, and it's not a counter pick to anything that you're up against. So, not really sure what the deal is there. Especially when you are getting red side bans from or blue side bans from TSM onto the Thresh, which clearly shows that they are like not excited about playing against Destiny on a hook support like Thresh. Play the Nautilus. Like, just play it. It's not that hard.
And you get good value out of the what's the aftershock? Yeah, the aftershock rune. Like, you just get. I just feel like there's so much more value, like you were saying, to attack your support like Nautilus. So yeah, just a lot of question marks surrounding the Trundle pillar. And I don't think it was drafted around to like either team's demise. Like, whatever, a pick here or there is like not that bad. I don't think any of these comps were like based around it. But yeah, overall, I just think like week in general, I don't think it's last pickable like you were saying. Them saving it till like literal like pick 5 was just abysmal. So yeah, lot of question marks from Immortals overall. And like weird focus from Immortals on the Azir ban. Of all the mid lane champions that I would think they would fear, I don't think it's Azir. Obviously, it's PoE's like pocket pick, and it's always fine to ban a pocket pick. But as you'll see, like in the Cloud9 series, when we get to it later, like Azir's just super underwhelming, and he's been super underwhelming for TSM in the past. Like, I'd rather them be holding prio on Syndra at that point than Azir.
Yeah, and I'd be more worried about PoE on the Orianna or on the Rise than I am on the Azir. Like, he played Orianna very well in like the first game of the series, and like, yeah, they beat him playing it in game 3 of the series, but still, like, that's something that I would 100% like look for priority over. I mean, he pulled out the Victor in game 4, which is not a very common pick or ban currently. So, like, of the options that you have to play against and everything, like, Victor is... I think this is the only time that it's been picked or banned in all of playoffs so far, I'm pretty sure. So,
barring like 1 or 2 picks here, yeah.
No, I'm pretty sure this is the only time he's been.
I don't see the Victor, bro.
The Victor in game 4? Power of Evil played it?
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, like, that's the only time that I think that has been picked in all of these playoffs. And
yeah.
So, like, I agree. I just don't think the Azir is just worthy of bothering with in a way. I don't know.
I think there's, from Immortals' perspective, there's bigger fish to fry than a third-tier mid laner for not the best player on the team.
Yeah, I would definitely agree.
That's
So,
all.
and like I said, I think Oriana is much more of a comfort pick. Like Power of Evil's been picking, like he was playing Oriana with a Stinger back in like years ago, and pick like
Utilizing the auto attack
building,
speed.
yeah, building really weird. Like he is very comfortable on that pick. Like why are you letting that over the Azir? I don't know, but Immortals pick ban was pretty questionable. I mean, like also just the fact that like you said, Draven is getting banned out against them. Like I don't know. Immortals got it banned against them twice in the Dignitas series, and then once again, like in that series, it's just it's weird. I don't
I
know.
agree. I agree. I think it's well, let me put it like this. I think it's an interesting point for teams to have these like pocket picks, um, but unfortunately, in a game where there's 5 bans in every game, they're not the most useful because whatever a team wants, they can just say, nope, you don't get that. So, like, all that time that you prepared and practiced and, like, oh, this is my shit, they can just say no. Like, everybody
Well,
knows it.
and the other thing about it is, so you have Varus banned, Callista banned, Draven banned, Ash banned through the ban phase, going into the final round of picks, and you ban Draven, but then they're just like, okay, we'll just pick Tristana.
Mm-hmm.
It's like what is scarier about Draven than Tristana?
Yeah, I
Nothing
feel
in my
like
mind. Nothing.
you're right. You're right. Especially from a competitive standpoint, like Draven has no escape. Like the list goes on and on of like what Draven is bad at. So
Yeah.
yeah, in every scenario, I'd rather have a Tristana.
Right.
So yeah, just like some weird, just like pick bans in the series. Overall, I think TSM were just better in the server. But
I think they just have
when
better players like that. That's what it
agreed.
came down to in that matchup. Like the I wasn't even super impressed with like TSM's like picks honestly throughout it. Like it didn't I didn't think they were bad necessarily, but their team comps didn't really stand out as anything like super, I don't know.
Very standard, very slow.
Yeah, like they didn't really do anything crazy in my opinion. Other game 3 that they lost, like they had the Ash Rel bot lane, which is a pretty,
Mm-hmm.
I would expect to be at least a pretty strong bot lane with the amount of CC that you have coming out of that. But I mean, they ended up losing that anyway. So
Yeah, I was surprised to see. I was surprised to see the 3-1 actually, just like based on what we've seen. I may have expected TSM to be a little stronger there, but props to Immortals for being able to take a game. Because in that game they did look really strong against them. They kind of latched onto a lead and never let it go. So yeah, overall, it was a fine series I think, but the pick and ban definitely had. It was definitely foretelling of what was going to go on in the Cloud9 series against TSM because I think the Azir was like a big problem point for TSM. There were a couple pretty big like Shurima shuffles, but other than that, I'm not sure. I'm not sure the Azir bought them much. So just like with a little bit of future sight in hand, yeah, just like some weird pick and bans. But overall, that's my assessment of the TSM Immortal series. I thought overall, obviously TSM favored, but Immortals was able to put up a little bit better of a fight than I may have originally guessed.
yeah, I didn't expect them to honestly pick up any games at all off of TSM in the series, and like the fact that they did is pretty exciting to see. I don't know. I'm very happy to see some of the lower tier or like teams that had looked worse during the regular season kind of come out and put on a pretty good performance in general. I like seeing parity in the teams. I like seeing good competition. I was excited to see that the top 5 teams in LCS were relatively close together from TSM down to Liquid. I mean, I feel like in previous years we've been stuck with just 3 good teams, and then like that's just kind of it. It's like, oh, who's going to be first, who's going to be second, who's going to be third, as opposed to like, oh, okay, like let's see who's actually going to make it out, make it to Worlds and everything. Like you get a little bit of parity. Competition breeds improvement, in my opinion. So I think seeing teams like Immortals, who are the 7th out of 10 teams in the regular season, come out and play pretty solidly, I was pretty happy to see that. Even though it's not a like they didn't come out and win, but just to see them put on a decent performance made me happy. So
Yeah, I definitely agree. The last thing I was going to say about that is going into week 9, it was really a toss-up in my head. I didn't know what team was getting out. Even regardless of what the records were, all 5 of those top teams looked like they had potential to get out of the tournament. So yeah, I think this has been just overall a fascinating year for NALCS. I think one of the closest years that we've ever had. And yeah, overall, it's been exciting to watch. We have a couple more series here yet to go. But yeah, fun stuff. And I agree with your point on parity. I'm happy to see the teams at the top of the table are not as Mercedes and Williams, right? It's a little more Mercedes and Red Bull.
yeah, definitely. I think that's important because that's one of the biggest things that I think has been a weak point for North America over the past years as a region going into Worlds is that I mean, we typically, and I know I said like top 3 teams, you know who's going to make it. Yeah, you do. But also, I feel like in most seasons, we have a singular team who seems to be the unequivocal best team in North America, which
Best
ends up.
hope, as they put it.
Yeah, which ends up being not even the same team that you would expect like once you get into Worlds. Like there have been years that TSM has looked the strongest coming out of North America, and then for a while it was always up TSM looks the best. Like Cloud9 hasn't won a LCS championship since their first 2 splits or whatever. TSM's coming in the strongest in the Worlds, and then like Cloud9 was the hope of NA every year for a while. Like you can't even gauge like which team's going to be the best internationally based on the LCS competition. Like just the lack of competition, whether you're talking about the looking at solo queue or looking at just the league itself. I like to see some improvement, and on a team like Immortals that does have a lot of younger players, I think that's pretty exciting as well, because you have the potential for some of those players to grow into better players over time. Like Revenge went from being a one-trick Riven player to a pretty decently solid top laner. You've got Insanity, North American mid laner, coming up, playing pretty well, going toe-to-toe with PoE for a decent bit. Reyes, you've got Reyes and Destiny, Oceanic players coming in and playing pretty well. Like, it's exciting. They're younger players. They're getting this, they're getting some of these bigger series and games under their belts, and that is great for young players to have that experience. So
I agree. Yeah, because there's nothing that's gonna get them in a position to play against fucking Chovy and Faker and Canna. Like, there's nothing that puts you in a position to get ready for that other than just being there doing it, right?
Yeah, and being competitive with the top teams of your own region. Like, if you can't be competitive with those teams, then you have no hope of being competitive with teams internationally. So,
Right.
I think that is, I think that's huge to see. So, that, I guess, brings us into the more contested series of the two more contested series of the weekend in the LCS playoffs.
Round three,
Saturday's matchup of the upper bracket finals between Team Liquid and 100 Thieves. You're
what
shaking,
a series,
You're
bro.
shaking your head already. That's what my thought was too. Like,
what a fucking series!
It was a phenomenal series. That was fun to watch. That was exciting League of Legends. The back and forth of like just everything. Liquid, 100 Thieves, Liquid, Silver Scrapes. Like, it's just, it's fun. Like, it's exciting. And they were picking some really, really strong, solid team comps against each other as well. I really liked the fact that the Ornn came out for 100 Thieves in multiple games. I think that the Ornn is like a really solid option as a pick, and I don't feel like it's like played very much right now for whatever reason, but I think it's a really solid pick to be able to play on the world stage, because you can run into those scenarios where, hey, like, yeah, the Renekton, the Jace, those champions are kind of the strongest, but Worlds always has its own meta. Maybe you do end up having it be more of a Gnar Ornn kind of top lane matchup typically, and you are doing more of the tanky top laners and all, depending on how that shakes out. So I like the ability to play some of these different champions, and to be able to take the kind of risk on it, even though it's playoffs in LCS, but both of those teams knew that they had made it to Worlds already, so I like seeing them take some different chances and all with their picks going into that matchup.
And just because they had made it to Worlds doesn't mean that, like, the importance of ending 1, 2, and 3 like doesn't really matter to these teams.
Three is only going to the play-in stage, and
that doesn't like guarantee you the tournament.
Yeah, you are not guaranteed to the group stage unless you make it to the LCS finals. So this is still a super important game. So the fact that they were willing to pick that Ornn in 3 of the 5 games, I like it. I think that's nice that Someday has a comfort pick like that he can break out, along with breaking out like the Gnar, and I know I believe he's played Renekton in some of the other series that they've had as well. Some of the different picks. So,
all right, so check out this progression with the Ornn pick. So this is I'm actually glad you brought this up, because I thought it was fascinating in the game. All right, so they had 100 Thieves last picks Ornn for topside, right? Look who they have in their 80 carry slot and their mid laner slot. They have Ryze and Aphelios. Guess who would do really well with an Ornn item? That's a Rab Cap and an Infinity Edge. For gold value wise, those are like the best upgrades for your money, right? So they pair the Ornn with a Ryze that's going to buy Rab Cap, and then an Aphelios that's going to be able to get the upgraded Infinity Edge. Okay, cool. What do they pair?
the Vayne in game 2 with the Ornn, which is
Yes,
just
okay. So now you see what I'm setting up, where I think the Ornn is a super, super good pick, where you're not focused on the lane matchup necessarily, but you're focused on the hyper carries that you're bringing in the game to get you that extra economy of, oh, you're buying an Infinity Edge? Well, I get to buy a Molten Edge, right? That's like 75 more AD just based on the champion that you're picking. To me, that's like bringing a TF into the server. Like, just by virtue, you're earning more gold than the enemy team.
Well,
like,
it's just
to
one
me,
of
that's
those
such a leg up.
Yeah, it's one of those champion advantages that you just get based on the pick, which is huge.
Right.
I mean, even something as simple as getting the Xayah Rakan bot lane and
So much value.
having your Rakan be able to fuck around and hold people off and then just hop in with Xayah and base together and everything, because they have that ability to get the recall buff where
they get the damage proccing together. There's all sorts of bonuses.
There are so many things that come along with that, and so that is just one of those additional things that just happens to come along with having the Ornn. And Ornn's not just...
They drafted around it really well.
It's not a bad lane pick either. You're tanky. You can build items in lane. You don't have to base as much. You can have teleport advantage more frequently. It's a
all
good
great
pick.
Points.
And that speaks to the fact that Team Liquid went and banned it in games 3 and 4. After playing against it in games 1 and 2, they were like, fuck this, we don't want to play against it. They banned it round 2 in games 3 and 4, which forced 100 Thieves, since they clearly wanted to pick it, forced them to pick it in the first pick round in game 5. They didn't get to hold out and wait and last pick it after seeing what else was picked. They were forced to pick it early because TSM started banning it out.
Team Liquid.
Sorry, I'm like...
You're good.
Yeah. Liquid banning it out, yes.
So yeah, that was huge. Another counter pick got tried for the LeBlanc. We had blue side. We had 100 Thieves picking up the Lissandra against Liquid's LeBlanc, which that ended up being a little bit better of a choice, held up better in lane, and I think had more options during the mid and late game to not only have answers against the LeBlanc, but also have answers against some of the other team members. So again, we're seeing adaptations in draft around the Ryze and the LeBlanc. These teams leaving open Kalista to me is so ballsy, especially in a series that has FBI and Tactical, two of the biggest Kalista players, if I remember correctly, from the regular seasons, two of the biggest Kalista players, and that just went unbanned throughout the series. I thought that was amazing, seeing Kalista ultimates, the hopping around. Bro, that was one of my biggest points throughout the whole series, was the amount of times that Tactical was left untouched at the end of a fight. The amount of times that FBI was left untouched at the end of a fight, just chucking spears into the opponent. And it was such a pivotal team fighter for both of these teams. If I remember correctly, both teams played it. Yeah, it was so pivotal. And for the rest of the season, it was getting banned all over the place. So it surprises me what changes in these games where something that was 100% prio in pick ban, it just gets through casually. So the Kalista was super surprising.
I completely agree. I was honestly very surprised that either of them were able to play it. I don't understand the idea of allowing that through. Just in general, you cannot... Tactical had played it 8 different games in LCS with a 75% win rate.
Disgusting.
And then, let's see here. FBI had played at only 4 games with a 25% win rate, but still, like...
Okay.
I mean, but nonetheless, like, it's clearly a very strong pick.
And it's being banned out like crazy by other teams.
It is, like, it's a pick ban champion. It was banned 3 games in the Cloud9 TSM series. It was like
EG banned it every game against 100 Thieves.
Yeah, like it is a extremely prevalent pick or just pick and ban champion. And so allowing that just casually through I thought was a bit odd. It is also interesting to me the Xin Zhao is not really... Like, it's a strong pick, but I feel like...
It's tanky as fuck, bro.
Just because the
build is tanky and the ult is so good. The ult is so good.
I don't know. I think I'm bored of
Blackbird has been using it to a pretty good degree.
I know. I think it's just the champion bores me a bit because it's just so binary. Like you like dive in, you auto attack a couple times, you ult, and then you run away. I don't know. I think it's just boring to me, so maybe that's why I don't like it as much. It's definitely a strong pick.
If I may pause you right there, just a thought on that. So boring in the sense of he's cropping up in the same meta as a Lee Sin, which is like so much more high skill cap than a Xin Zhao. But like the Xin Zhao, it like has just of an easy time like impacting the game as a Lee Sin. So it's just from like a spectator point of view, like I'd rather see the Lee Sin player pop off because it's harder what they're doing.
Definitely. So,
just to comment on your boring, that's all.
Yeah, no, I mean, it really is. It's just that's I think why I don't like the pick as much. It's definitely a strong pick. I won't knock it on that, and it makes sense that it is getting picked. I just don't like seeing it. But I guess the other thing, like, that I would just say from this series is that I felt like Jensen and Santorin, like, that was kind of one of those keys to success for them. Like, they really, when they were, like, clicking together and everything, that seemed to be when the team was popping off, that mid-jungle synergy. It was similar in their series against Cloud9 earlier in the playoffs. Honestly, just watching game 3, that game really, the fact that 100 Thieves won that game was, it shouldn't have happened. And Liquid pushed too hard. They lost that fight in the bot lane, pushing the tier 2 turret, or maybe the inhib turret right in that area. They push too far, just get absolutely clobbered in the fight by putting themselves in a very narrow kind of entry point for that against the Lissandra, Gnar, and Rel. And just like from that point, things turned quite a bit for 100 Thieves to be able to come back. 100 Thieves should not have won that game.
No, I agree, especially with the way Jensen was playing the fights, like on the flanks with the LeBlanc. Like, he was doing so much damage on like the outer rings of the fights that I'm surprised. I'm surprised it went that way. But Team Liquid claps back 2 in a row after that. That was 100 Thieves match point. And then Team Liquid claps back 2 in a row. I think this is probably, I hate to say this, sorry Cloud9 fans, this may be the best I've ever seen Jensen play.
No, I would 100% agree with you. He has looked phenomenal throughout these playoffs. He has looked so comfortable
Like his Lee Sin was disgusting.
It was really, really solid. Like
inducing.
he was really solid on it, and they didn't win that game. And he looked really clean on it with all of his like plays and everything. Like I don't know, man. The LeBlanc, the Syndra, it's reminding me honestly a lot of like watching Bjergsen play in the playoffs when
it was definitely that
when
meta.
he is
the
when Bjergsen was the most dominant mid laner in NA for all those years. Watching
so many solo kills though. Bjergsen has so many solo kills.
Yeah.
Like a disgusting amount.
But Jensen just looks so strong and comfortable. And like I'd say more so than the best he's ever looked as a player, the most comfortable. Like, he does not...
Doesn't that imply better, though? Like, if you're playing with apprehension and anxiety, you're not playing the best. But I would agree, he's playing with a freeness and a looseness that we may not have seen before. Which is contributing to, like, he's fucking unlocked, bro.
Yeah, and I think that they honestly... Like, I'm excited to see them... at Worlds. Like I am really impressed with how he's been playing. I think Santorin complements him extremely well.
You're not a mid laner if you don't have a jungler.
Yeah, but the fact that Santorin's been around the league for so long, and he really seems...
TSM, he's played with like top teams.
And he seems to really just be coming into his own as a jungler. Like, I mean, not that he was bad before, but like
aggressive meta really works for him, though.
But later in his career, being not just like how Liquid was with Xmithy, where they're like, oh, we've got the veteran jungler. He's really smart, but he's less mechanical. He's like, but he'll do the good things that you need. Like, fucking Santorin's out there, and he's like, nah, I've got that unlocked, but I've got the synergy. I can play the mechanical champions. I can play what you need me to play. But like
so more of a package, you're saying, more of a package of a jungler.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Like he's not like, I feel like there's so much, at least in North American junglers, that they're always like, oh, the young junglers, like they're super mechanical, but then the older junglers like they play well because they're like they know how to play jungle and whatever. Like he is like meeting kind of both sides. Not that in this series he played any extreme mechanical junglers. He played Xin Zhao, Olaf, and Sejuani, but still, like, he's the synergy with him and Jensen and everything has looked so good. It's been really fun to watch through this.
I agree.
I'm looking forward to the series for whoever they face in the finals. Like I'm excited. That's going to be a fun series to watch. And be it 100 Thieves again or be it Cloud9, I think we're going to have some good matchups coming into that finals. So
I definitely agree. Liquid has become deservingly one of the more revered orgs in the league, and they're really showing it. They showed it in this best of 5 for sure. Going what, 5.5 hours? Like, that's how long a series is, like, as a team. Like, going 5.5 hours against 100 Thieves, man, kudos to them. They brought it out. I thought they played amazing, and it was a really fun series to watch overall. Just like spectator value, it was exciting. It was very exciting. I think both teams really brought it. Looking forward to the finals. Now, last matchup of the weekend, we had TSM going all 5 games against Cloud9. That was a barn burner.
It was so back and forth throughout the series as well. Like,
it literally was. It was TSM Cloud9, TSM Cloud9 in Game 5.
Yeah, but it was just exciting. The Pantheon pick was a really interesting support pick from TSM coming out. I mean, they had it in games 1 and 2. It looked...
Paired it with the Callista, absolutely dirty level 6. Dude, pick up the Pantheon, throw them at you. Like, you're guaranteed to get a kill. I thought that was a really heads-up draft by TSM in game 1. I was like, I like that shit a lot.
It was, and also the fact that they did get the early lead, they were able to snowball it really pretty heavily by getting the AD items on the Pantheon to be just another carry champion.
He at one point he literally had more items than the enemy AD carry. Yeah. I was like, what? That's so busted. Like, what is this, Pike?
And they got the early lead and just snowballed it very, very well. Like I mean, just towers, barons, dragons. Like Cloud9 was next to none. I mean,
yeah. Let's talk about the mid lane bans in round 1 though. We had LeBlanc, Twisted Fate, Syndra, just for the Rise and the Orianna to get picked. I think this was an interesting pick and ban for the start of the series. I think it kind of set the tone a little bit, where, you know, Power and Evil and Perks going head to head. Both of these teams had a little bit of priority in that matchup. I thought that was kind of interesting. What do you think?
Well, also just the fact from TSM's side, they banned out the LeBlanc in round 1 of every single game. They did not want Perks to be on the LeBlanc. They also banned out the Thresh against Vulcan in every single game. They kept very consistent bans throughout, whereas some of the other bans kind of flip-flop back and forth a little bit. Yes, Cloud9 did ban out the Twisted Fate 3 of the games, TSM banned out the Twisted Fate in 3 of the games. My mistake, getting it mixed up. So, like, TSM seemed to have, like, their bans that they wanted to keep pretty locked. I find it weird that they were banning the Twisted Fate against Cloud9 a little bit, because Cloud9 has not shown a super heavy priority on that pick. I mean, Cloud9's played Twisted Fate.
If you're playing Rise, you can play Twisted Fate though. It's the same. It's the same movements. It's the same macro.
Right, but Cloud9, but they are definitely still different champions in terms of, like, Rise really has burst potential, can really put out consistent damage. Twisted Fate is much more of a poke roam heavy champion. Cloud9's played Twisted Fate once in the playoffs in their 4 series. I find it odd that they were banning it out so heavily.
They were banning it out in the games that they were drafting, like, heavy, like, early game comps. They didn't want to be counted at the level 6. Yeah. Like, if you look at game 1, they had Varus, Xin Zhao, they had Lee Sin, Callista, Pantheon, Renekton. That's, like, really early game. They banned the Twisted Fate. They didn't want to be matched. In game 3, they banned the Twisted Fate as well. They had Lee Sin, Camille, Braum, Ezreal, not as aggressive from the bottom lane, but you have Lee Sin, Camille, which is hyper aggressive. So it may have had to do something with that, but you're right. I think that was a reckless point by me to say they were, like, the same champion. You're right. I think they play significantly differently, which is why I made that point about the countering in the early game.
I agree with a certain extent just because of the fact that they have global ultimates to be able to roam and move around and everything, to have the potential to impact side lanes, which is one of Perks's really heavily focused points as a mid laner.
Yes.
So I completely get what you mean by that.
Especially with the prio on the Nocturne in game 5. Like, it's clear these teams want to be able to move from far away to their teammates, you know?
Oh, 100%. The other thing that it was fun to see was the fact that the Lee Sin was getting picked in every single game there, making it through. But the one pick that stood out, I think, the most to me was Perks on the Irelia. I really enjoyed seeing that. and watching him come out with like a different look. Like we haven't seen the Irelia be heavily picked. We saw it in one game of the 100 Thieves Team Liquid series. We saw it banned out a couple of times. I don't know if we saw it really picked elsewhere throughout the playoffs. I'd have to glance around and see, but that was not a heavily picked champion in the playoffs. Let's see. TSM picked it once in round 2 against Team Liquid. It's been banned out a few times, but we really hadn't seen it a lot. And to see him get to play that twice in the finals and look pretty solid on it as well. That was fun. Even in the game that TSM won, like he did not look bad on the Aurelia at all.
No, I don't think he did at all. And as far as pick and bans go for an international competition, I think that is a hyper necessary pick that you have to have right now in your mid lane's repertoire and your top lane's repertoire to be able to flex that Irelia, because there are champions that are going to be picked in the mid lane specifically, depending on the meta. Specifically, I'm thinking champions like Sylas. I'm thinking champions like Yone. I'm thinking champions like Yasuo. These are all champions that Irelia is going to want to be like counter-picked into to look for a good melee matchup where you're not getting boned playing a ranged mage. So, moving into a Worlds tournament where, guess who else is playing Irelia? Fucking Faker, right? Like, where I truly believe, and I'm so happy you made this point, I truly believe we're moving into a meta where a lot of these teams are going to play that Irelia with a vengeance. And I'm really happy to see Cloud9 pulling it out here and seeing Perks looking like competent as fuck on it, right?
Oh, yeah. And
he's playing really well.
And he's been able to show like, just throughout the season, throughout playoffs, like he's shown a comfortability that you don't see on most mid laners on such a wide range of champions. I hate using the clickbaity things like, he doesn't have a champion pool, he has a champion ocean. Like,
honestly, I don't think that holds up anymore as a point for mid laners.
I don't think it does.
Is so small.
I think so too. I think you have to be able to play the main champions well, but his
with like one or two pocket picks.
Well, but his flexibility to be able to play whatever champions in meta is pretty huge. I mean, we've seen him, like you said, you brought up Yone. We saw him play that multiple times throughout the year. I mean, we've seen him play the Yone. We've seen him play just in this series. We saw him play Irelia, Ryze, and Syndra. We've seen him play the Orianna. We've seen him all over the place, all over the board, checking all the boxes for mid laners.
Definitely.
And, I mean, Sven as well, like, just as another note, Sven, like we had talked about throughout the year, throughout the season, looked just phenomenal. Game 1 was his only really knock to him at all. I mean, even Game 3 where they lost, he went 0-2-0. Like, he did not... Like, he was trying to do his best to keep in it. He had the most CS in the game. He was trying to hang in there, and the team, they just didn't have what they needed to win that game. But he, like, in Game 4 and 5, 6-1 and 11 on Jhin. Game 5, 4-1 and 12 on the Varus. Like, just looking phenomenal. Fudge breaking out the Gwen, which was exciting to see again. I was happy to see that come back in after she kind of fell out of the meta for a little bit with some of the patches, to see him come out 7-0 and 6 on the Gwen. I'm excited to see all three of these teams that we know are going to Worlds from North America at this point, seeing Cloud9, 100 Thieves, and Liquid. I'm actually I am more excited than I expected myself to be. I feel like so many years we're just like, so we're going to get knocked out of group stage. And I legitimately feel like these three teams have some strong enough players to actually potentially like have a solid performance at Worlds. I'm not saying win Worlds, but like to look good and put out a solid performance. Like I really think that these three teams have really solid ceilings for their potential.
If you had to put a nail in it, one North American team gets out, who do you choose?
One out to get out of groups.
Yeah, to make it into the knockout stage.
Right now, I'd probably put it on Liquid.
That was going to be my guess, too.
Yeah, but I honestly think that all three of these teams have the potential to make it out of groups. I think they all have some really solid players with both good experience as well as just quality in general. I mean, 100 Thieves, you've got Someday, who has a ton of really quality international experience. You have
Plus coaching experience, too, right? He was a coach for a while, right? Who am I thinking of that has an S in the name? The Shy.
The shot.
Or Shy. Just Shy. The Shy and Shy are two different people.
Yes.
Shy is a coach.
The Shy was, yes.
I'm pretty sure he's like playing now or was playing like last year.
Yeah, the Shy is like the top laner that was like crazy.
Forgive me. I don't know what I'm talking about.
All good. But yeah, no. But Someday, like he played for KT Rolster for a really long time. He has he's a really really solid top laner. Closer has played extremely well as well. He has some international experience from the TCL before he came to North America. Abadaga was played in Europe. Like they have a solid roster that has some good upsides. I think they're the least likely to have phenomenal performance at Worlds, be just due to the fact that I think Liquid and Cloud9 have players with more international experience, and I think a just potentially better just players in very key roles. I think mid lane and bot lane, they do have the better players between, Perks versus Abadaga and Sven versus FBI. I would say that Cloud9 is a little bit better in both of those roles, which leans...
I think FBI and Sven are different players.
They're very different players, but I think Sven will...
Higher ceiling than FBI.
And I think he fits better into the current meta and is he's not as flashy as FBI can be on some of those champions, but I think that Sven is an extremely comfortable, safe, but also strong player. We've talked about his positioning and whatnot throughout past episodes, and I think that the characteristics you need to perform well on the world stage, which a lot of that is positioning, and I think positioning is one of the biggest things in international competition, because if you do step out of line or you make you move your champion a pixel too far forward, you're getting hit with CC, you're getting hit with a hook, you're getting hit with a knock-up, you're putting yourself in a position where
you're being punished.
Yeah, and Sven does not get punished very frequently, even in losses. No. So yeah. I think in general, Cloud9 and Team Liquid both have higher potential at Worlds. Not that I don't think 100 Thieves could perform better or may end up performing well. I just think in just
If they
general,
do, it's through the jungle.
I think in general setup for Worlds, yeah, it will be their jungle and top lane and potentially mid lane as well. Abadaga has looked very good, much better than I expected him to this year. I didn't expect him to be bad, but he's performed very, very well. So that kind of leans me into who I think is going to potentially perform the best. But getting back to just the Cloud9 TSM series, it was a really well fought series. It's kind of sad to see TSM not make Worlds. I think it was amongst the 4 final teams. It was kind of tough knowing that one of those 4 was not going to make it, because I have been pretty impressed with all of them. But honestly, that last game from TSM just was pretty brutal, and just in terms of control from Cloud9's side. It was...
Well, Cloud9 did things that you didn't see them do before. Like, it was a total like code switch. Like, that was the game where they invaded the red buff and then did like the deep tower dive on the top lane turret, right?
Yeah, but the fact that they have the ability to do that, like, and just pull those kinds of things out is like,
it's fucking impressive, which makes me like believe in them moving forward. Where,
right,
like,
exactly.
They were able to play in a way that was genuinely surprising after watching them play like 5 best of 5s, 5 like 4-game series.
Yeah, I mean, we saw them. Yeah,
fascinating against the number 1 seed going into playoffs is out of fucking Worlds for NA, bro. I think that is a fascinating storyline. The number 1 seed going into playoffs is done and gone, son. Yeah. I love that. As a lifelong TSM fan, I've never been happier to see them fucking out.
Yeah, well, and like,
it speaks for good things on the horizon.
I mean, the 5th seed is in the finals already, with potential for it to be a 4th versus 5th matchup as the finals in the LCS.
Unprecedented, where before it's just been 1 and 2, or like 1 and 3, or 2 and 3. Like, hey, what a time to be alive.
Oh yeah, like, and that just speaks again to the parity of like the teams and how things have gone in the LCS. Like, I
said it.
I just wish though that, like, I mean, looking at this, watching this, and watching the teams change their strategies, change their picks and bans, like, I really wish we had best of 3s in LCS, man.
It would make these conversations at the end of the year easier to have, because we would feel like we knew these teams a little bit better.
Well, because we don't understand.
And they would know themselves better.
Well, and we don't know what it looks like for these teams to be in these best of scenarios. Like, they're used to...
We just get these little snapshots.
We get, like, we're like, up, best of 1, this team. But then you see, like... You see Cloud9 go in and, like, lose game 1s in multiple series that they've had and everything.
Right,
and then still, like, pull it out and all. Like, it's not...
You're actually getting these data points that say, like, if Cloud9 were playing more best of series, we would find that they were actually way better than we actually think they are, because of how clutch they can come, or they'll drop a game and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, we actually lose out on crucial information by not being able to see these players play more.
Yeah, and, like, with their coaching and everything, too, like, Reignover has, like, been a really solid coach for them as well.
I mean, I would just like to pause for people that are listening who don't have any context. Reignover was the jungler that Fnatic went, I believe it was like 21-0 or like 23-2.
Then he came to Immortals along with Huni, and they stomped North America.
Dominated. Like, this guy is like a 5-head... like cerebral understanding of the game. He like has been to Worlds. Like this guy knows what he's talking about. So yeah, Reignover I think is a big boon for the coaching staff.
Yeah, and not that Reaper was not a good coach or anything. He's clearly a very good coach when Cloud9 had him, but at the same time, like he kind of just at some point with different coaches and everything, I think there is a time where coaches need to move on, and I would say so in the case of other things as well, just in terms of professional sports, like seeing someone like Andy Reid, who I'm like one of the coaches of the Eagles for years and years and years, the Philadelphia Eagles. He was a really good coach. At a certain point, his time in Philadelphia
stopped being a good coach.
No, his time in Philadelphia came to an end, and he went to Kansas City with the Chiefs, and he's won a Super Bowl now. He never won a Super Bowl with the Eagles. He was never able to get over the hump with them. He was performing well again and again and again, but not well enough. And they were like, okay, time for a change. They made the change, and he goes to win a Super Bowl with the next team he coaches. Like, there are instances where you have reached your peak with a certain team, but your peak could be higher with a different team. If you find the right situation, the right scenario, the right matchup of your coaching style with players, so the fact that Reignover has come in and after Reaper was Cloud9's coach and a very good coach for Cloud9, and Reaper has come in and kind of upped their game a little bit and made them help them to continue to progress and become better as a team. I think that's huge to see. So it's exciting in that aspect for Worlds as well. But we still have a couple of best of fives to go. So I know it's crazy.
What? More?
We've got more. Just you wait. We've got this coming weekend, Saturday, 5 p.m. Eastern Time, 100 Thieves versus Cloud9. Winner of that series plays the following day on Sunday at 4 p.m. against Team Liquid.
And these are seeding implications for Worlds.
Yes, so winner of the 100 Thieves Cloud9 series determines which team goes to play-ins and which team makes it to the group stage. Loser goes to play-ins, of course, to have to qualify through that to the group stage. So
duke it out with the people from Japan and all over the world.
The what do they call them?
I'm most excited for Japan, by the way.
I am too. They've
they were disgusting at MSI, by the way.
Do we know who is gonna be making it? No, we don't.
No, not yet. Not yet.
So
yeah, all that's happening like this weekend and the following weekend leading up to Worlds. I believe we have this patch and one more patch before Worlds. So it's like 11.17 and then the Worlds patch, which I think is going to be 11.18. Anybody listening, please correct me if I'm wrong. I believe that's the way the patch rundown is going to go.
Currently in 11.15 for these playoffs. So.
Oh shit. Okay, so then it might be. I may be plus a couple numbers. It may be 1.7. That's going to be the Worlds patch. Regardless, there are still going to be some shakeups. Going into the final tournament of the year. We're going to have all the info leading up. We're going to see who made it, who's winning, who looks good, what champions are going to be picked. I look forward, Aaron, to having a conversation next weekend of champions to look out for. I kind of want to do a top 2 in each role next week of what champions we expect to see at Worlds, what we're looking forward to, any like historical champions that we'd love to see at Worlds, these kind of things. I think that'll be a fun setup conversation. But yeah, it's all happening coming up this weekend and the following, for more Worlds implications for League of Legends.
Absolutely.
Anything else you want to add, sir?
No, that kind of covers it. I'm excited to see how these matches shake out for the end of the LCS Championship playoffs, and then kind of going into Worlds, getting a good idea of what everything is going to look like. It's going to be fun, exciting. We'll get to cover a number of topics going into that, as well as just throughout the World Championships and everything. But that brings us to kind of our towards the end of the episode segment. You said you had a little bit of a magic to sprinkle in, a little salt bay sprinkle in there. So
just a little bit. And by the way, if we're ever out seafooding together, don't dump the shaker of Old Bay on it. You just need a little bit, just a little bit of Old Bay.
It depends what we're talking about.
No, it doesn't depend. You just need a little bit of Old Bay.
Normally I only use a little bit of Old Bay, but I've also
what would you use a lot of Old Bay on? Go ahead and tell me. When it's the wrong answer.
I've been to an all-you-can-eat crab shack down in Maryland where everything has been just absolutely smothered in Old Bay.
Oh, and it was so much salt, brother.
Oh, I love salt.
Oh,
dude, salt.
I can't handle it.
Salt is my favorite seasoning.
It's good, but not.
It's my favorite. I don't
want a lot of it at one time.
Old Bay has like other things in it.
Sort of.
It's got like paprika, I think.
Yeah, and shavings of my grandmother's ass crack, bro. It's spicy as hell.
Yo, wait, are you not a spicy man?
No, I love spice, but like the blend of Old Bay, I feel like doesn't need the amount of salt that they have in it to complement. Because when you pour Old Bay in large amounts, what I feel like you're effectively doing is just pouring salt in large amounts. Because I think there's something. I think there's fundamentally wrong with their blend. I think they could go up in the spicy spices and down on the salt.
They could, but that wouldn't be Old Bay.
It wouldn't be. Whatever, bro. I don't care.
I've had some. I've had a lot of good crab cut that's been smothered in Old Bay, and it's been phenomenal.
Everybody loves Old Bay,
but I also love just dunking like seafood in tons and tons of butter too. So like I'm. Like not regular butter, like the
we're criminal eaters. That's what we are.
Yeah, like I'm a fat
That's
American
a title too.
Who likes
criminal eaters.
Who likes to smother things in salt that's gonna raise my blood pressure and eat things that are gonna give me tons of cholesterol. Like I'm just trying to clog my arteries every chance I get.
Take me out of here early, bro. I'm just trying to clog my airways.
I made shrimp tacos for dinner, and because I don't really eat breakfast or lunch anymore, I was still hungry afterwards. So I made myself a bacon grilled cheese. I was just all of it. The salt, the grease, the cheese.
I feel like you should probably eat more, bro. So then you don't do that at the end of the day.
I normally don't. Today I was feeling lazy, and
are you okay, dude?
It's the medicine that I'm on. I don't have an appetite for about 12 hours of the day.
Fair enough. So makes sense.
That's all it is. It's not. I eat enough that I lost a little bit of weight, and now I've.
You track your calories?
I don't, but I do watch my weight. I dropped 5 to 10 pounds when I first started taking my medicine that I've been on, and I've plateaued at a weight that I feel pretty good about. And if I once I get back to working out a bit more regularly and whatnot,
bulk up.
Well, I'll just start. I'll be drinking like protein shakes and doing other things to supplement my calories and things like that. But for the meantime, I am I'm at a good weight. I'm not continuing to lose weight. I'm not shriveling up into a shell of the man that I once was. And
if anything in these 49 episodes, you are more of a man than where we started.
I feel like I've grown a lot over the past bit, so
let's go.
They're all about the growth, trying to better myself.
Me too, man. I love that.
So I'm about it. But after talking about sprinkling Old Bay, sprinkling spices, let's sprinkle some magic in here.
All right,
let's get it going.
It's just real short. So they did an announcement. They did Showcase 2021, which was like their announcement of the like upcoming sets for 2022 and like early 2023.
Gotcha.
So they were like secret lairs and sets and supplemental sets and commander products. Lair? All right. So secret lairs are like collectible versions of cards, right?
Can you use them to play?
Oh yeah. It's like different arts or a collection of cards from one artist. Like a favorite is the Secret Lair Seb McKinnon. So it's a set of like 4 or 5 cards, all from like done in the style of one artist. And they sell like hotcakes, and they are a way for Wizards to reprint like some like highly sought after like older cards.
Oh,
yeah.
I just pulled up the Secret Lair for the Out of Time Super Drop with the Kamigawa Ink cards.
Yeah, aren't those beautiful?
Wild. Like, yeah. I've never seen any sort of trading card look anything like that. That is
beautiful. Yeah.
Whew.
So that's a secret lair. So those are cards that have previously been printed in Magic's history, and this is Wizards of the Coast giving them a reimagining.
Okay, and you've also got, I'm just like glancing a little bit at some of the other things that were announced, and I'm intrigued. These seem very different from what I am used to from seeing the different Magic cards. You've got the Kamigawa Neon Dynasty, which is a very futuristic looking pack. You've got the all of these look pretty futuristic. The Dominaria
What's the name of the
United,
city? New Cana. What's the name of the city?
Oh, New Capenna.
Capenna, bro. That looks like it looks like, you know, honestly, you know what that art style reminds me of? Did you ever see The Legend of Korra?
I have, yeah.
Bro, isn't that it? Like,
yeah.
Like steampunky, like old world magic-y.
Yeah,
bro, it looks
it's
so
like,
sick.
Yeah, it's like gargoyles in suits of armor and like, yeah, it's interesting.
Yo. Well, are you looking at the art of the like Demon King where he's got the guy in the shirt?
Yeah.
Bro, that art looks so insane. I don't care what that card is. I want 1,000,000 copies of that card. Whoa. That art is insane.
You've got the Dominaria ones. The Unfinity looks wild, where it's very futuristic, but also like cartoony and interesting. I mean, you're also seeing the Magic the Gathering Universes Beyond, where you have Warhammer 40K, I think is what they refer to it as, along with the Lord of the Rings Middle Earth. Like that
seems dope.
That's something I might just buy a box of just because I can guarantee that the Lord of the Rings Middle Earth like box is going to have an extreme value someday, just because of the fandom for Lord of the Rings. Like,
I imagine so. Yeah.
I mean, you've got
a lot of cool stuff.
You got a Fortnite secret lair, which like Street Fighter secret lair. That's pretty cool. It's very interesting though, because are they going to be putting out other sets, like standard sets of Magic throughout this, or are these
are the standard sets? So the standard sets are the New Capenna, Dominaria United, Kamigawa, and what's number 4 that I'm missing? The Brothers War. The Brothers War is a standard set. Unfinity is a pet project from Mark Rosewater. Every couple of years, they do an unset, which is silver bordered cards. And silver bordered cards are only legal within the realms of the unsets. It's like it's like fun, wacky. It's like a place for like Magic to put like jokes on itself. It like breaks the fourth wall, and like it's like very Deadpool-y, right?
Yeah. But I just find it interesting, though, that all of these sets honestly don't seem normal for the Magic franchise from what I've seen.
Talk about it.
The new Capenna is
That's why I'm bringing it up.
The new Capenna is the only one that looks vaguely similar to what I'm used to, except for maybe the Dungeons and Dragons Battle for Baldur's Gate Commander Legends pack that's going to be coming out. Dungeons and Dragons, I think, fits the typical Magic the Gathering
more of the aesthetic
a bit more, but I'm very intrigued. It's interesting. I am surprised to see them venturing, like, I'm used to different things dipping their toes into other things and bringing in like a little bit of this or a little bit of that. They're just like fucking jumping into the deep end with Fortnite and
I know, it's a licensing fucking extravaganza.
And Lord of the Rings and Warhammer 40K. They are just diving headfirst into the licensing fucking deep end, and good for them. Like, that's exciting, I think, for people of different fandoms to potentially like grow interest in Magic. But I think it's a bit, I'd be interested to see the reactions of longtime Magic the Gathering players, because I feel like there will be a lot of people that are just like, they're just catering to all these new things that are coming out, and what is this Fortnite card and things like that.
Right. Which
I think it's cool to see a company embrace stuff that is outside of their area in an attempt to expand their fandom and their player base and everything. I think it just kind of adds to it, but I'm sure there will be a vocal minority that is outspoken about how Magic has changed.
Oh yeah, and I've definitely already seen the mixed reception to it. But yeah, overall, I just thought it was just super interesting. All the different, like, very different aesthetic takes that they're going with it. Now, this is not financial advice, but the one thing that did stand out to me in all of these announcements is they're doing Double Masters 2022, and Double Masters was one of the funnest booster boxes experiences of my life. And they sold for, it was a decent chunk of change, but they have gone way up in value since then. So if anybody out there is looking,
2 foil cards and 2 rare or mythic rare cards in each draft booster. That's pretty good.
It's so much fun to
Powerful
crack.
reprints and a multicolor draft focus.
Oh.
So you're
Dude,
and
the
Seb,
last
Seb
one-
McKinnon's art is also pretty fucking cool.
Isn't it? He's like one of the premier like Magic artists right now. Everybody loves his shit. That Damnation is fucking insane.
And the one I'm looking at is the Minato the Fate Shifter art.
Oh yeah.
Like
the little girl with the net.
Very, very cool art style as well.
Spoopy. So. Yeah, he has some super cool cards. But yeah, a lot of cool things on the Magic Horizon. Just wanted to give a little brief shout out of that. So yeah, fun stuff. A lot of cool aesthetics that I'm like kind of looking forward to, and I'm happy they do these. Helps me plan out some of my spending. Gives me an idea of like what to keep my ear to, what to like kind of tune out for. Like there's a bunch of this I'll be able to tune out for. But there's some I think it's going to be pretty tough to not fucking gouge my asshole for my money, but that's where I keep it all. I keep it up my asshole.
I can't wait to buy those Fortnite cards and start doing Fortnite dances.
Dude, hell yeah, that's what I'm looking forward to, the Fortnite cards, obviously.
Exactly, obviously.
But yeah, cool stuff.
Awesome. Well, I guess getting to the end of the episode, Justin, give me your flavor of the week.
All right, I will keep it super simple, super quick here. Now, my music is going to be last because if you've been paying attention, you might guess what it is. But I'll start with my visual medium. What We Do in the Shadows. It is a show about like vampires existing in the modern day. It's like this really dry comedy. Every time Sarah has it on, I'll watch like a decent chunk with her. We've gotten so many inside jokes from it. It's so fucking funny. They're like the situations are so ridiculous and so banal. It's not what you would expect from like how many other tales about vampires there are. So What We Do in the Shadows, hilarious show. And I'll just leave you with that one. That is like the best line in the show. My food for this week, I did a Southwest quinoa and egg bagel with like a red sauce on top for breakfast. Sarah made the Southwest quinoa. That was banging. I had never done quinoa before. I called it rabbit food previously. So I stand corrected on that. It was pretty tasty, so I enjoyed that. That's my food for the week. And then my music for this week, I've been watching so much League of Legends, so many Game 5s. I've heard Silver Scrapes a million times. It's a classic. I don't think it's ever going to get old. And even when it does get old, it's going to be so bad that it's funny therein. It actually doesn't get old.
I don't think it's ever going to be bad because it's always going to give you those feelings of hype and excitement. Especially
and it means
now
you're
that
at a Game 5 of a series, which is amazing. I love that they reserve it for that. So yeah, the music is definitely Silver Scrapes. Hopefully that is the tune of many a night coming up for the run-up to Worlds. Super excited for it. Aaron, give me your flavor of the week.
Sounds good. For my flavor of the week, I'll start with my food. It's a recipe that Colleen and I got from her getting HelloFresh. It was firecracker meatballs. So some nice saffron rice, some homemade meatballs, along with a nice little spicy sriracha and soy-based sauce. It was really, really solid. For the visual medium that we've been getting into, so after White Lotus, which had that kind of different vibe, not a lot of plot line, but like a lot of focus on different characters and their like changing through the show. There's a show on Hulu right now that's still coming out week by week. Episode 4 just came out. It's called 9 Perfect Strangers,
Ah,
Really,
yes.
really good show. I like it a lot with a really solid cast. You have Nicole Kidman, you've got Melissa McCarthy, you have Bobby Cannavale, or Cannavale, not sure how you say it. Just another number of, you have Regina Hall, a number of different cast members who have been well known in other roles. The idea of the show is that there's this group of 9 people who are coming to a sort of wellness retreat that Nicole Kidman is the host, who is kind of there to guide them on their journey of growth and change during their time at this retreat. And all of the characters have their own different reasons for being there and whatnot, and it's pretty interesting to see and watch. The acting is very good. There's a kind of sinister background aspect of it that you're kind of waiting to see. I'm waiting to see what it is because, like I said, episode 4 just came out. Tonight episode 4 came out, so we watched 3 episodes and then are now stuck watching it week by week. So I'm excited to see how it goes. I'm not used to this. I'm so used to binge watching shows.
I know.
But that is the way it goes. For my music, it's funny. I was actually... So Colleen actually asked me for the first time this week. She goes, "What is League of Legends?" And so I got to explain that it's one of the most popular video games in the entire world.
Right.
But also kind of went into talking about some of the external aspects of it, particularly with the World Championships, of the different music that's involved, how they've had Imagine Dragons who have created songs for Worlds. Zed has the song Ignite that they created for Worlds, and all these different, I mean, you've got Chrissy Costanza with Against the Current, all the music that they have for the different for the different World Championships and shows and performances that they've had involved. So I got to play some of that music for her. But my actual music is, I've been on a little bit of a Kanye kick. I got excited, like I'm ready for more Kanye, but I've been going through back to some of the Life of Pablo and all. And I love that album. I love it so much.
So good, bro. I don't think there is a better opening track to an album. Ultralight Beams is fucking real.
It's so good, and
it is unreal. That is probably Chance's best verse, hands down, all time ever.
Ultralight Beams is such a fucking good song, and that whole album is just God
damn. I love the only bad moment on that album. The only bad moment is the Silver Surfer interlude that's at the end. But even that is classic.
Keep it wavy. Yeah. You gotta keep it wavy.
It's so dumb. It's so dumb, but it's like classic Kanye interlude fashion, to the degree that it fits so well in the spirit of the album that I can't even, like, it's not even a downbeat, and it's the worst beat on the whole
the whole shit.
But every single else is a win. I love Pablo. I'm so happy that you're going back and listening to it. Yeah, it's amazing.
It's such, I had that, like, there are not very many albums that come out that I have on repeat for extended periods of time. I will listen to stuff for like maybe a week or two, and then I'll be like, okay, like time to, like, I'll mix in the songs I like into my other playlists and whatnot. But with that album, I listened to it for like 2 months straight. It was so just good. I love that album. Good. So that's been my kind of going back, even though
Hell yeah.
on a side note, I was kind of excited to show Colleen some of the music that is associated with League of Legends since she
No, that's really cool.
yeah, since she asked kind of what it was, and I tried to explain the game a little bit, give her an idea, but also I know that she will have more interest with some of those external things that kind of come along with it.
How do you make her care? Yeah.
Fitting it into some of her tastes and all. I thought it was kind of fun. So
yeah, well done, bro. That's awesome. Let me stick on that point on teaching somebody about League of Legends just real quick. There's a video that Rivington Bislin III did with League of Legends. It's called The Impossible Decision. It's like this 6 to 7 minute brief video where he talks about, I believe it's Fnatic versus I think it's Fnatic versus SK Telecom, where SK Telecom is playing like a Fizz Shen composition and Fnatic is playing like a poke without a lot of engage. And the way they break this moment, the way he breaks this moment down, it's like at a Worlds game. I think it's like group stage or whatever. But the way he breaks it down and like shows all of the complex decision making and comms that happen, like intense moments of League of Legends, of like the macro plays of a waves pushing here, the dragons up, this player split pushing, he has teleport, they don't have a flash. Like he sets up all of these things. The video is called The Impossible Decision. It is one of, I think it sums up League of Legends so perfectly, and not only that, but it uses one of my favorite moments in League of Legends, like to describe just how intense these moments are. And I think if anything could sell how fun this game can be, it's that moment with Rivington Bislin showing like how Vision's important, the split push, like this carry champion, like it's like a snapshot of League of Legends taken out of time that encapsulates so much. I go back to it so often. It's so much fun. The Impossible Decision.
I think I found the I think I found the video. But nonetheless, very that's a cool thing. I'll have to see about making sure that's the right video, and maybe I can show Colleen that a little bit to give her a little bit of a better insight into League of Legends. So.
Like the true competitive side of it. I think that paints it so well. Yeah. But yeah, I think this has been that's fucking awesome, man. So your music from your flavor of the week was using that as a lens to introduce Colleen to League of Legends, and then going back to The Life of Pablo.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice. Okay, cool. I just didn't want to derail your flavor of the week.
No, definitely not. So I guess that does, though, bring us to the end of this episode.
Yes, sir.
Thank you all for coming back and listening to another episode of the Tall and Short of It podcast. Of course, you can find us anywhere you find podcasts, Anchor.fm, Google Podcasts, Spotify, all of them. Of course, we're on YouTube. Yep. And keep an eye out, like Justin mentioned, for the medical massage name to be determined podcast that he'll be coming out with. We're excited to add that into the repertoire so that you all can have a little bit of insight into that, and hopefully have some health tips and different things that you can glean from it, and hopefully improve in your own lives as well, whether it's stretching, exercises, all of that, yada yada yada. Justin, you want to take us out of here?
Follow us on @TallAndShortOf1 on Twitter. We'll give you all the updates, what's going on, race companions, new videos, thoughts, feelings, all things like that. @TallAndShortOf1 on Twitter. Hit us up on YouTube. Leave a note in the comments. Follow us everywhere. Thank you so much for listening. This has been another episode of the Tall and Short of It podcast. Peace out, everyone.
Later, guys.